Hey, y'all. Welcome to our Thursday live here on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Every Thursday, Alegre and I go live, excuse me, right here at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. I happen to be 12:30 Eastern right now, and Allegra happens to be 9:30 Pacific at the moment. And together, she and I are Beyond Your Wildest Dreams, BYWD. And what we are all about, our mission is to help you learn to prioritize yourself, save time, and achieve your goals. And that was the funniest start that we have ever had for one of these lives. Okay, y'all, we're backstage. We're doing our little countdown. And all of a sudden, I see Allegra's face go, and her background goes, boo, and just falls. Now, I don't have a background because I'm traveling and I don't have my full equipment, my ring light, my background set up and all that stuff. So my background has not fallen down. I don't have one, but that was pretty hilarious.
Oh my God. And it was so slow-mo too.
It was slow-mo. It really was like.
I couldn't even tell if it was going because it was so slow-mo. So funny.
That's hilarious. I have yet to see that happen. And we've been doing this for a long time. That's the first I've seen that happen. So that's, it's a first. That is pretty funny.
First and only.
This is why people show up for lives, right? This is why people go to live. This is why people go to live events, because live, it really is. You never know what's going to happen. And I'm sorry I didn't turn off your camera fast enough. So we did catch the very first few seconds of you setting it back up before I was able to turn off your camera when the countdown ended. So you got to see a little bit how the sausage is made, a little bit behind the scenes magic, the wizard behind the curtain. So I don't hear a call. Yeah. No, I don't have one, but that's
odd. Technology. So Natasha and I, we have this wonderful bouquet of books. If you've heard us talk before, then you know we're all about helping you busy moms prioritize yourself, save time, and accomplish your goals. And we have these short workbooks that are on the topic of, if you want instant win, like you just want to reclaim time, we get it. 3, 2, 1, done. 3 simple strategies to get your to-do list done is the way to go. If you're like, I just feel like I wake up in the morning and have no control over my day. Oh my God, I remember those days. Rock your morning. This is all about creating a morning ritual. What's in it? That's up to you. We don't tell you what to do. We just tell you how to set it up. And those are our quickest wins. But, you can always look at the other ones. Go to our website, BYW Dreams.
And if you're not sure where you do want to begin, just join our mailing list. You're going to get great information, resources, tips, tricks, things that we're up to, and the latest in whatever workbook we're releasing, or course or workshop. But in general, just join the wait list, and not that, excuse me, the wait list, the newsletter list, and you'll be up to date on all the things.
And
you
get freebies.
Our freebies, exactly. We have some really good freebies too. I was just thinking about that the other day. Some really good juicy freebies, like the partner page, like I have a bunch of other ones now. Of course, I'm blanking.
Plan your week prompts.
The plan your week prompts, super important to go ahead.
Beat burnout.
Even in the summer, plan your week. In fact, kind of especially in the summer, plan your week. The beat burnout, yes, where we take this huge study, consolidate it down into usable, workable stuff that you can use right now to help you slow down, feel less burnt out, and really reclaim some of your time, as Allegra said. But more importantly, and most importantly, prioritize yourself. And that is why in our mission statement, that is numero uno, because it's the most important part. It's the most important puzzle piece.
Right, because if you're not healthy and mentally, feeling strong, then it's hard to do anything. Like that becomes your sole focus.
Right. And that also, I said puzzle piece, and as soon as I said puzzle piece, I'm like, oh, that makes it sound like it's a static thing. And then once I get it and I put it in, it's done. The thing about prioritizing yourself and self-care is that it is malleable, it's seasonal, different, different seasons of life, right? And so what used to work for you 10 years ago as a way to fill yourself up is maybe not as effective or not even viable anymore, So as soon as I said, I'm like, oh, that makes it sound like oh, I'm just going to conquer it and it'll be done, right? No, it's an on
No,
process. And so be in
ongoing.
that process with Allegra and I, because we don't have it perfectly handled. We're just going to share with you what has been working for us, things, and we always love to bring in that brain science and research backed information. So, because there's new stuff coming out all the time about
Yeah.
brains work, and then of course the season of life we're in
Yeah.
is wildly under researched. Surprise, surprise. But but probably more information about that than ever before in the history of womankind.
Finally,
Finally.
some information.
Yeah. So that stuff too,
Yes.
right. And so,
We always have some chit chat, and then our topic today is how this is a perfect segue because, as Natasha said, things are not static, and we're going to talk today about how our morning rituals have changed over time, and also even since we wrote our book, because it is not a static thing. And I actually have some chit chat related to that, which is that someone I live with has had a really good morning ritual for a long time. However, I am seeing how this person is allowing work stress to make them feel like they don't have the time or energy to do their morning ritual the way they were before. And, I once read this story about a mom whose child was diagnosed, adult child, not that it makes a big difference, but adult child was diagnosed with a really serious disease. And so she knew she needed to be pristine with her self-care, with her sleep, with her exercise, with her eating, so that her health didn't become an issue, right? And you hear this all the time about how caregivers, their health actually suffers even more
oh my God,
than
mental and physical, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Than the person who is originally sick. And so, people always say, well, that sounds selfish. You should put your child first. And it's like, well, in a way, she is putting her child first by ensuring that she can show up perfectly. And, so Natasha and I always have this push-pull about like, well, do it because you're worth it. But the reality is it does also help allow you to do all the things that you want to show up as.
Right.
And so I was saying to this person that I live with, as they are talking about the stress they are undergoing, and I'm like, that's when it's even more important that you ensure you're keeping your self-care rituals going.
Yeah. But it is so hard, right?
It is hard.
shared so many times with you, Allegra, and with, with our audience, just how it is like, I am so whatever's urgent, right? Like I'm like a little fish in the pond looking at all the shiny things and like, like just going for the shiny little bauble, and whatever's urgent often will throw me off track. Right. And so while I'm traveling right now, I'm just keeping it super simple. The morning ritual and the evening bedtime ritual. Super duper. You'll be proud of me that part of that super duper simple routine is skincare. It is a modified version of skincare, but I'll tell you, Allegra will tell you that like up until a few years ago, like I was kind of like, oh yeah, like every other day, I'm like, I'll put on some cream or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and I was very inconsistent with it. So just consistent with it to some degree, even a modified version. And that has made a huge, it just before I get out the door or go down the stairs and start the day with my family, my folks, I'm staying with my parents and the kids. Before I start that, like this just feels like a little bit of me time, because the summer days are really like a lot all about what do the kids want to do? How can I help my Adrian parents like do these things that they need done and make sure that everybody feels like they're having a fulfilling summer, even with the weather being so crazy and cattywampus.
Well, and I just want to give a little background. So Natasha is currently visiting her parents who are older. And so, whereas most of the time she's in California, of course, there's all this catch up of things that has to happen. And so not only is she having, right now you are sandwich generationing.
Yeah. Like I'm in the sandwich.
Was there a list of things that they wanted you to do? They'd been saving for you?
Yes, and also just like, activities. They've been waiting for like I want to do this with the boys. I want to do that with the boys. And then my parents they're very, very capable, but I'm like, ooh, we could maybe fix that railing, looks a little wobbly, like that kind of thing. So
Right.
I've got my own mental punch list of just like safety and, ease of life for them. And then, my dad needs to buy a new computer. So we're going to that stuff like that, things of that nature too, where there's kind of like, oh, we've been waiting for you for this.
Right.
Kind of stuff too. Yeah. So, and then of course the boys, which we love coming here for the summer. It's just wildly different than Southern California summers. And so there's like there's always like a wish list for what we do when we come here.
You're like at this like you're like pretty much at the farthest diagonal point almost as you can be from us.
And I definitely don't, this is not complaining. It's just what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, cause this is
but it's so different.
This is a lot of this is quality problems. Like, what fun thing do we get to do today? You know what I mean?
Right.
But so it's a quality problem. But just getting back to the ritual thing, as I said, very truncated morning ritual, but of course, making the bed first and foremost. And in fact, after our live last week, I was talking to the boys about it because they're choosing to stay. I'm in my parents' basement right now. They're choosing to stay in the basement because it's cooler than the room that they normally stay in. And then the weather has changed and they could move back up, but they like it down here. It's kind of like their little bachelor pad.
Right.
Bathroom. You know what I mean? Like but it is also a common area, right? So I was like,
their man cave.
Their man cave, yeah. And I was like, hey guys, you still need to like make your bed, even though you're sleeping on this. The little one is like pushed together 2 chairs, and this is what he wants to sleep on. I've offered him he loves it. So
that sounds awesome.
So these like makeshift sleeping areas. I'm like, you still need to make your beds, even though it's not a bed, and so I had to get in it with my older one about the science behind it. He's like, well, why, Mom? This. And I was like, well, it's funny you should ask. Even though we've talked about it before, I just had a live with Allegra about why it's important to make your bed. So still doing that, of course, making my bed and doing the skincare in the morning. And then the last 2 nights, I have shifted up my evening routine a little bit. And I finally have done the things that I've read about for forever, that I know is a recommended way of having your sleep space, which is charging your phone outside of your bedroom. And for a long time now, I have been like, well, I use it, the audio to help me fall asleep, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is that when I wake up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, I come back to bed and I go to turn on, a sleep track or something, and I get sucked into some other kind of scrolling situation. And then next thing I know, I'm like, oh, I've spent like 90 minutes doing that when I should be sleeping. Like really, it is well designed to suck you in, right?
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for a while. And then 2 nights ago, I was like, this is out of control and I need to stop it. And so I am now charging it. There's like an alcove in the bedroom that's far away from the bed, charging it there. I still get to use my wireless mask Bluetooth.
Oh, with music.
So I set up the track across the room and then put this on, and lo and behold, my sleep
that's great
has improved. I'm still getting up to use the restroom, which is just one of the beauties of the age that I'm in, where that used to not be the case. But guess what? I come back to bed, and by the way, I'm waking up later, so I'm getting more sleep. And then when I go back to bed, I'm actually falling back asleep because I don't have the screen around.
That's awesome.
I mean, like, it's like, duh, you know what I mean? Like, it's a duh thing, you know what I mean? Like, of course, right? It's not like this is like some kind of, magical revelation that I'm like, there's tons of research and tons of people have recommended to keep it out of your sleep space. But I'm actually doing it instead of just saying I'm going to do it during the day. And then when nighttime rolls around, here I am, you know what I mean? Like just forgetting to do it. And it's working.
Yeah, man, humans, let's just say this really like this is important, okay? Humans, we are so good at lying to ourselves.
Oh my God.
If you will.
I'm so good at it.
Like saying, "Oh, I'm doing this thing." And it's like, "Are you? Are you?" And I always joke that our species name shouldn't be Homo sapiens, it should be Homo hypocritical. Because
Yeah.
Like,
Do as I say, not as I do.
yeah, we are so good at putting off anything remotely uncomfortable or remotely do you really this is really your brain working against you, like, I don't think you really need to spend calories on that thing, right? And so this is where I remind myself that a lot of the things that I want to do are counter to my basic programming as a human because look, our human bodies are so good at saving calories in case of a famine. That's why we store fat. And anything you wanna do that it does not consider important to your survival, it's going to be like, "But do you really have to do that? Do you
Yeah.
really?" So, look, you're not doing an easy thing. I just wanna put that out there. Like,
Right.
every day that you choose to spend calories that you don't need to spend, you are going against your programming. However, if you do it long enough, it will become a habit, and then it'll be easy.
Right. Because
But
then
I
the
just
brain takes over because it
yeah,
wants
because then the
to save
brain
calories
helps you.
here. Yeah. It wants to save calories. And it's just like, oh, well, this is just a habit that we do. Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that, yeah,
And I've done
absolutely.
this a lot of times and I haven't died or starved to death, so I guess it's okay, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
I just wanna clarify, like, how hard it is to
Hmm.
get over that because of our programming. So
Yeah.
know that you are not alone when you are fighting to do something that is what your brain considers useless use of calories because
Right.
and that might not seem like a big thing, your brain trying to save calories, but your brain is 2% of your body weight, but uses 20% of your calories. So
That is
2% body weight, 20% of your
huge.
calories.
Is there? Yeah.
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 So it's actually a huge thing. Like that struggle that you feel that makes you exhausted, that's because you're using real energy to do those things.
Yeah.
I
Modern
feel
life
like it
is not lined up necessarily with our like ancient biology, right?
not at all.
Because
Not at
modern
all.
life is like a sliver of a hair of time through
Yeah, it's like
evolution.
100 years,
Right,
maybe.
right. So
Maybe.
it doesn't line up with so many things about
Yeah, versus
yeah.
the many years of what got us to where we are
Right.
as
So
humans.
recognize that, exactly like I said, if you make a choice that is a healthy choice for you, like maybe going for a run when your body's like, well, there's no tiger chasing us. Why would we
Right.
run? You know what I mean? Like,
Why
like
would I run?
why would
Yeah.
I run? Like this
Yeah.
couch is really comfortable, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. So yeah, so we got a lot of biology working against you. And so, and talking about lying to yourself, I literally would be like, well, I'm going to use my phone for these sleep tracks, right? Like
Right.
literally lying to myself. Okay, I'm just going to find the one I want. Oh, here's a short. Haha, that's funny. Oh, another one. Oh, a baking one. Kitty puppies. Kitties. You know what I mean? Like, and when you think about how these apps were designed, the phones themselves designed, and using the design used for slot machines in Vegas or in any casino, that you're going to get
Be
these.
addictive.
It is. They used your own biology against you
Mhm.
to go. Oh, we're going to get this person watching this app for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And look, we're gonna get her eyeballs. We're gonna monetize those eyeballs, and we're gonna, so
Yeah.
I do feel like when I put it over there, I'm like sticking it to the man. When I put it over in the other corner and just, use my. I do highly recommend the eye mask. I'm very light sensitive, so as soon as it gets light in the room, the eye mask with the built-in Bluetooth headphones. I know that's probably not. I have a friend of mine who works for a major cell phone company. He's like, no. That'll be later. One thing at a time. I do really like it. It does help me fall asleep, and it is soothing.
Well, maybe you can just get like a sound machine, just separate. It's so I saw an ad recently for something called the Camp Camera or something, and it's a camera designed for parents to send their kids to camp with so that they don't need a phone because they want to take pictures. Well, here's a
Oh, right.
camera. And
Yeah.
guess what? It has no screen on it. So
Oh,
that your kids don't get distracted at like, did we get the perfect pose? Right?
yeah.
It's like click memory. Okay, whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we've come full circle.
Full
We are
circle.
going back to the cameras we
Film.
all had.
I know, right?
We all had like not even that long ago, 15 years ago.
Oh,
I
yeah.
still had a camera with no
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah. I of course had a digital camera, but like I just
Digital
even
camera, but no screen yet.
right. And well, I had one with a screen, but I don't think I had one without one. But I looked up, oh, how much would it cost to? Because I thought, well, maybe fun to just give my kids like some disposable cameras, right?
Yeah.
Expensive, like
To
prohibitively
process the film.
expensive to buy a couple of just just disposable camera, and then good luck getting it processed. Yeah, I've got one
I
of those.
literally still have this camera, and
I still have one of those.
and this one does have a screen.
Yeah, I think I have the
So
same.
but
Yeah.
yeah, she's played around with it. We actually have
Mhm.
2 because my dad had one when he passed, and so I gave her that one. So I still have this one, but it's pretty hilarious that we all are seeing how like, it hasn't taken that long for us to realize how distracting screens are for us.
Mhm.
And so, it's interesting that we're coming back around full circle. But
Yeah.
I did wanna finish. I had a chat thing that I really wanted to talk about with
Yeah,
you.
sorry, go
And
go ahead. We got derailed into our subject too quickly.
yeah, we got into our subject a little too quickly because this is something that I think everyone will wanna hear, and it's something that I would love your feedback on. So, okay. My little
Mhm.
went to do something, and she was signed up to do it for a week, and she did it for 1 day, and then she wasn't feeling well.
Mm.
And as far it's been 4 days now, and we have been very supportive and also trying to there has been some legitimate not feeling well. Like, she felt a
Yeah.
little warm to me, in terms of, like, flushed, and she said her throat was a little sore, but took a COVID test, no COVID test, no COVID, and also, like, no other her throat's a little sore, but that could also be from running the AC, so, anyway,
Yeah.
but she did seem a little flushed and, it's like, "Okay, well, that no computer, like, you're in bed resting, no TV, no screens, rest." And she has been resting, but she also hasn't seemed sick, and there's been she's a lot better today. So, we're like, "Okay, so tomorrow you're gonna go finish this thing," and a lot of pushback, a lot of
Mhm.
pushback. Like, I didn't love it, and here's the thing, is it's something that she's done before, and her role changed a little bit because of her age, so she's now kind of
Mhm.
more of like a helper than a camper. But she's also the only person her age. So,
Ah.
she's 14. The eldest camper is 10 this week, which is unusual.
Mhm.
And, and then there's the
The staff.
actual staff.
Yeah.
So, she feels like no, I don't have a bud, if you will. But
Mhm.
again, she's been to this exact location for years, loving it. So, I'm torn between this whole like, okay, I understand you didn't love it. It wasn't the giggles you were hoping for. However, I also want her to flex the muscle of, well, you make what you put into it.
Mhm.
And they're not asking you to do anything that's harming you mentally or physically. And so like I feel like there's this really push-pull today being a parent where we don't want our kids to suffer, but also the struggle with ensuring that they're resilient. I once read an interview with Michael J.
Mhm.
Fox where he said, "It's a really great regret of mine. It's a huge regret of mine that I am unable to raise my children as scrappy as I am." And I love that he used the word scrappy, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like you can figure things out, you can bounce back, you
Yeah.
can survive. And the thing is, though, is that there was a lot of trauma that made him as scrappy as he is, and that's why he can't do it for his kids, 'cause he's like, well, I'm not gonna purposefully traumatize them
Right.
so that they can be scrappy," but I'm feeling like she needs to go tomorrow. Right?
I feel like if she's not legitimately sick, right? I feel like, yeah. I mean, there's a because for sure, like I feel you because like there is a part of me that like the way I was raised was like, you made that commitment, you better go. You said you're going to do it, you better show up, right?
Right.
Regardless of
Yeah.
feel about it or whatever, blah blah blah. Which is how I think some of us were raised, and like how
Yeah.
maybe you would then trudge through an employment opportunity that no longer suits you, but you
Right.
said you were, you know what I mean? So like that's
Yeah.
a byproduct of that not being, what is happening behind me? It's like a race going on or something. But that's a byproduct of like, and that's maybe like the extreme toxic side of
Right.
it, where like you're just like, it doesn't work for me anymore, but I said I would do it. And you trudge along and you put your nose to the grindstone and stuff. And that's not necessarily the outcome you would want, right? You want to still
Yeah.
have, you still want to check in, and you want to make sure that it really is working for you and that kind of thing. But the other side is, right, I don't like this. So, I'm not
Exactly.
saying that's your daughter's attitude, but yeah, because like going to camp and having buds around and having, it was fun. And now it's like maybe a little bit of work and there's nobody
Yeah.
else to share it with, right? Because if there was another 14-year-old who was like going along and doing the chores with you,
Yeah.
that would be more fun or tolerable, or,
Right.
mhm.
Well, and
Yeah.
so here's the other thing, and this is where my partner and I are disagreeing. And I said, if she had gone this week and then said, "You know what? I made an effort and it's not for me," because she signed up for 3 weeks of doing
Oh,
this.
gotcha. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay? So if she had gone, I'd be like, "Okay, you made a real effort.
Mm-hmm.
Fine." However, you also don't know who's gonna show up those other weeks because we have no idea if there are gonna
Right.
be other people that sign up that are close to her age or people that she's known from previous years or anything like that. Okay, but I'm almost of the mind, like, you didn't go most of this week, so
Right.
you have to do one other week.
Mm-hmm. To
That's kind of
really
how I'm
right.
feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that I feel that struggle too, like walking that line of like, do you go ahead and, make them do something that they don't want to do, right? Because
'Cause one day, you can't tell jack all from one day. I mean, unless okay, granted, if it's an abusive situation or dangerous for you mentally or physically, that's one thing.
different, totally different.
But, like, it's not butterflies and lollipops, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. We get to, as parents, help our kids tolerate uncomfortableness. You know, that is part of our job, is helping them tolerate unpleasant feelings, because helping them circumvent unpleasant things is just unrealistic, and that's just not how life goes. And not to say that like life is tough, kid, like like
Yeah.
you suck it up, like I'm not, that's not the message either, but the message is like sometimes stuff's going to be uncomfortable, and we can do hard things, and it's a good muscle for her to practice in this
Yes.
really kind of like
Safe space.
yeah, safe environment.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And also going back to what we were talking about earlier about, like, how we were designed, like, less than 100 years ago, whatever activity it was that she was doing, that would have been the only game in town. Like, there wouldn't have been an option to opt out. Like, nowadays, oh, yeah, there's so many options, but it's like,
Yeah.
I do feel like part of why our society doesn't function so great is because we're able to opt out of interacting with people that we don't necessarily want to interact with, and then we go into our own little echo chambers of, well, I don't want to talk to that person, so I'm not hearing that point of view and I'm just in my echo chamber. Versus like, hey, when we all socialize a little bit, we realize that you're a human, I'm a human. You love your kids, I love my kids. And so part of me is just like, look, it's not normal to just be able to opt out. Like that's not a normal human experience. Like figuring out how to make things work with different people is an important skill.
It is an important skill, and I think it also gives us a good perspective, and being able to, I mean, again, barring abuse, barring people,
Yeah.
people
Barring
being
unsafe,
right,
being unsafe.
not talking about that. Always available to opt out of that at
Yes,
any
absolutely.
given moment.
Yes, absolutely.
But yes, the idea that I don't want to hear things that I don't agree with, or you know what I mean, like that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay,
as a
so
parent, we have to make those tough decisions. I think that's a hard thing. I totally, God, I see that from both ends. I'm just trying to imagine my 13 in that scenario, and and the message that they would get from that. If you say you have to
Right.
go, like, what's the message? If you say oh, you don't like it? Okay, that's fine. You know, like that's not an invalid choice either. I just don't know. It's just really, it's a doozy.
It
it's,
is,
it's
it
a little
is,
doozy.
but I
Yeah.
think it's an important one at this age.
Yeah,
So
for sure. For sure. Yeah.
okay, so our topic, which we've already kind of touched on, but we'll go back to, is how your morning ritual changes over time.
Mm-hmm.
And, we talk about in this book how it took me decades to get to my morning ritual. And part of that is because it is constantly changing depending on, my stage in life and what's important to me and what I've, been reading and what I'm focusing on. And yes, there are some things that never change. Like I'm a bed maker. I am a bed maker. It's part of my identity.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
I have been a bed maker since I lived with my parents. So I guess I picked it
Mm-hmm.
up in high school. And for me, it was kind of easy in a way because I liked the way my finished bed looked. And so, if you don't like making your bed, maybe it's as simple as, do you like your bedding? Because if you find bedding that speaks to you, whether you think it's pretty or whether like it has some, maybe you love Star Wars and you just need to get some Star Wars pillows to motivate you to make your bed, right?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
use that knowledge to make these things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And, same thing with, like, setting a better everyone need pretty much I remember one doctor saying, like, "If you could tell Americans what's the one thing you can do to most benefit your health," this doctor said, "Sleep. More sleep." Like,
Mm-hmm.
Americans are sleep deprived.
Mm-hmm.
Again, does your bedroom feel like a restful place? Maybe you need to move some things out of it. Like,
Maybe you need to charge your phone in a different room.
maybe you need to charge your phone in a different room. Maybe you need
Mm-hmm.
to move the TV out. Like, TV in bedrooms, I that's for us, that's a hard pass
Mm-hmm.
because it really creates. And some people would even say that you shouldn't have a desk in your bedroom even, because again, that's work and you wanna mentally just think about your bedroom as restful space. So, you know, maybe you need to move some things out, maybe you need to move some things in, maybe you need to paint your bedroom a different color. Like, there's so many things that can help support you in making your morning and evening habits more effective and easier for you to continue with. But in terms of changing over time, it's interesting because it's been fascinating to watch Natasha's morning ritual change in the last
Mm-hmm.
4 years. Really fascinating. So such big applause to the bed making, the flossing, the skincare.
Those
Huge.
things that have stuck. Yeah. And like Allegra said, you have
The
some
stretching, sorry, you're stretching.
keystone stuff. Yeah. So that thanks for reminding me. I haven't been doing my stretching since I've been here. And I've been doing my smoothies, but it's funny enough, I haven't been doing my stretching with them,
Well,
which is
it's interesting
that.
when you change locations, what a big difference it makes. Like,
Yeah, but you know what? It's funny that I haven't even thought about it until you just said it right now.
because
So
you're not in your place.
yeah.
Location is huge. When I took myself away for a week, you would think my rituals would have, like, lengthened and just taken up more of my day, but in fact, I was not getting triggered the way I get triggered at home. Like,
Mhm.
when I'm at home, I can't help but do my ritual. Like, I don't even notice it. My brain is just like, "Oh, you're in this room, so now you do this." But being in a completely new space, I found that my morning rituals were getting shortened because I had to, "Oh, right, I need to do this thing." It wasn't automatic like it
Mhm.
is when I'm at home.
Yeah.
So
So when I make my smoothie later, I'll remember to stretch, but I literally just completely forgot about it.
yeah, because that's
Maybe
usually
something
when you
about
do it.
my blender when I make my smoothie and I look at that blender, I'm like, oh, it's stretch time. Whereas
Yeah.
my mom's got a different blender and it's not triggering me the same way.
Isn't it fascinating?
Oh yeah, you know what? Because it's like she is a magic bullet. You know what I mean? And so I mean, you can set it so that it just goes, but I don't know. I just
Well, also just the
bizarre.
location, like, it's just not the same trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm currently in the middle of considering a transition, which is that I had been moving my exercise to the afternoon, like 4 PM, is when I've been exercising. But most of my life, I have exercised early in the morning, and I've always liked it better. One, because it's done.
Done.
It's not hanging over me as something I have to do later on.
Mhm.
Secondly, the mood boost. Like, I definitely just
Yeah.
feel better.
Great way to start off the day.
Yeah, but now that I've had my Fitbit for almost a year, I see how much more calories I'm burning and how much more my heart gets exercised when I work out in the morning versus at night. Like, you can do the same workout, but because you stay active for the rest of the day, you always heard that, right? Like, if you work out in the morning, it sets you up to burn calories all day long.
Mhm.
And but to have it proven for me numerically
Yeah.
is
It's
like,
hard to argue with.
it's
You're
hard.
like,
It's really hard to argue with, especially because I read this thing that said it's more important to move throughout the day than it is to quote unquote exercise, because an exercise is 1 hour. And let's say you burn 20% of your calories during that time. Well, there's still all the rest of your day when you're burning the 80% of your calories. So, are you making the most of that 80%? That's why they say people who live in walking cities are always going to be healthier than people who don't live in walking cities, because their 80% caloric expenditure is just gonna be massively higher. And I live in a city, right, where walking is not a priority.
not
Not
walkable.
even not a priority, but, like,
It's just
it's
not a
not
walk.
part of daily life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I am considering switching my schedule around, and the reason why I'm saying considering is if you've read any of our books, then you know that I tend to reserve morning time for doing work because I'm so productive. However, now as I'm getting older and I find that if I don't prioritize my health, it gets out of control very easily.
Yeah. I want to say, like, good on you for being able to exercise at 4 in the afternoon. Like, I would never get that done. I would never get that. If I put it in at 4 o'clock, would never happen. Would just never happen because all the other things that like
All the other things, yeah.
it's so easy to be like, oh, I need that hour. Boom. And just,
Yeah.
it's, yeah. Good for you that you've been able to do it,
Well, and I'm doing a workout and I love it. I'm doing a workout that is 22 minutes long. Exactly.
Mhm.
Right? And it's all about this whole idea of doing enough, but not too much. He calls it the Goldilocks workout, because there is also lots of
I love
science
that.
that shows that if you overwork out, you actually stress your body.
Yeah.
So it's 22 minutes. So it's not hard to fit in at 4, but literally the difference between when I do that same workout in the morning versus when I do that workout at 4, like, I see the data and I'm like, data.
Can't argue with that data.
You can't argue with that data. So anyway, so I'm currently thinking about changing around and again, 22 minutes. It's not gonna hugely rock my morning. Haha, rock my morning.
Rock your morning, title of our book. Go on.
It's not gonna hugely affect my morning. Okay, it's on silent, it's on airplane mode, and it's still making sound.
The alarms still go through.
Why?
Because they think if you set the alarm, you think it's important.
How do I get it to be a silent alarm? You can vibrate all you want.
You can go into, I think you got to go deep into settings and be like, alarm vibrate only.
Okay, I tried looking for that before, but I'll have to do it after. So anyway, so I am so this is how your rituals shift, is that you feel like something else is serving you better and you consider it. Now I'm looking at, giving a little bit more of my morning over to exercise so that I can have these other benefits that I definitely feel like I have. But yeah, it's a slow process, but it does change. And I will say one thing, because, I've had my health fall off a cliff, because the last time my health fell off a cliff was when my father passed in 2020. And I can tell you, I learned that lesson because it has been so hard clawing out of that, because I allowed myself to be in that ditch for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Still doing the things I needed to do, but not prioritizing myself the way I wanted to. that is not going to happen again. And look, this is something I'm actively thinking about because my grandmother's 100.
Amazing. So you got them
100.
longevity genes, girl. You got them longevity genes up in there. So yeah.
I'm like, so she's 100 and, not doing great. So it's
100
pretty
is,
imminent.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not, you're hearing it here. I'm not allowing myself to fall off that cliff. I'm going to be like that mom who's like, I need to keep my health pristine so I can be the person I want to be.
Heck yeah. And so whatever it is that you're looking to, go ahead and achieve in your life, creating a morning ritual for yourself is one of those keystones, right? There's keystone habits, right? One of those keystones that really can help you, can really help you beat burnout.
Yes.
So just in general, like, even just put you in a good mental state. And so you can start your ritual with one thing, right? It doesn't have to be 10 things, right? In fact, we recommend that you don't start with 10 things. And if you want to know where to start, we've already talked a lot about making your bed. That's a great place to start if you're not already
That's
a bed
great
maker.
place to start.
Are already a bed maker. What's another thing that supports you in prioritizing yourself, right? Let's not have your ritual be like, oh, I make my kids lunch. That's not part of your ritual. I'm sorry.
Right.
That is something maybe you have to do, every morning before school starts, but that's not for you and your self-care and your self-love and self-acceptance and so forth. It can be as simple as every morning after I brush my teeth, I high five myself in the mirror.
Yes, the high five.
Yeah. So like,
So great.
or that can be, you can start small and just be as consistent as you possibly can with it. And then that becomes a habit. And then the next thing. So keep it small, keep it simple. And the main thing is consistent.
Yeah. And if you are listening to this, to the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, you can get our Beat Burnout freebie at tinyurl.com/BYWD stop burnout. That's BYWD STOP BURNOUT. tinyurl.com/BYWD stop burnout. Or if you're watching this, just hit that QR code and you can get our Beat Burnout tips. How in less than 2 minutes a day, you can get yourself on track to beating burnout using these science-backed tricks. So thank you for joining us as always, and we will see you, or you can listen to us next week, same time, Thursday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern.